If you are new to incubating chicks, if you just got your very first incubator and you're really excited and about to throw in your first batch of incubated egg, make sure you stick around for this video because I'm going to give you some very helpful tips that will help you hatch a lot more eggs in your incubator. And trust me, I learned the hard way from experience and I made a bunch of mistakes. So I'm going to tell you in this video what you should do and what you should not do in order to have a very high hatch rate in your incubator. So let's get into it. Now, tip one is going to be to make sure your incubator actually works. The first thing you should do is turn on your incubator and make sure it works. Turn it on and let the temperature warm up. You should let it warm up a few hours anyway before you actually put those eggs in the incubator. And the best thing to do is to buy a cheap hydrometer, I think it's called, to test the temperature inside of the incubator and see if it matches what the machine says. And if the machine isn't holding 99.5 degrees, which is what you need to hatch the eggs, you're not going to hatch any eggs. If it gets too hot, you're going to cook the eggs. If it's too cold, they're not going to develop properly. So it's really important that you know, first of all, that your incubator is working properly before if you spend a lot of money on hatching eggs, you want to make sure that your machine, I'm assuming this is a new machine, it was for me each time that I did it for the first time with a new machine. So you want to make sure that the machine works, that it's holding the right temperature, and yeah, you don't want to waste your money on the machine and the eggs. Each incubator that you get is going to have slightly different directions based on the water. They give you directions on how much water you should pour into the bottom of the incubator to maintain the right humidity, which is really important. They need to be between 40 and 60% to get the right humidity in there. And so just follow the instructions that comes with whatever incubator that you may be using. The incubator that I have been using is from a company called ChickCozy, and I've actually worked with them on a video in the past where they've sent me stuff to review, but for this specific incubator, I actually bought it with my own money. It had good reviews. It was a new model that they just released, and it had a bigger capacity than my previous incubator that I did a video on a year or two ago. This ChickCozy incubator can hold 25 eggs. The ChickCozy incubator also came with these hatching calendars, which I thought were a really nice touch. It's really good for like kids, if you have kids. I have 2 kids, and that involved them in the process because they tell you on certain days, certain important days, when you might want to candle the eggs, when it's lockdown day, and it has lots of helpful tips on that page. So if you're also if you're new to incubating eggs, it could be very helpful to just have that calendar. But it'll be helpful for your records too. We could record, how many eggs we hatched on a certain hatch, and we could record and keep all that stuff for records and keeping and things like that. So that was a nice touch by ChickCozy. And if you want to check out your own, or if you're looking into purchasing your own egg incubator, I have an affiliate account with ChickCozy, and you can use my code TinyFarm using the link below in the details below this video. You can go to their website and get 5% off the egg incubators in their store, and I would really appreciate that. Tip number 2 is going to be find eggs locally. Find some local eggs that have been laid close to your house, and those that have been laid within the last week or so. And the fresher the eggs, the better the chances they're going to be that they hatch. If you order eggs from further away, states further away, there's possibly going to be a longer period since when they've been laid, and it's going to be a longer time before you actually get in the incubator, and that's going to mess up your hatch rates in the end. Also, local eggs are going to be more adapted to whatever your local area is. You're going to end up, when you do hatch the chickens, they're going to be more resilient, and there's going to be more adapted to your climate and your area and all these different things, and that's going to be really important for the longevity of your chickens. You want to have resilient chickens that are going to do well in your area, and what better way to do that than to find a breeder or somebody local to you that has roosters and sells fertilized eggs. And that's what we did recently, and we got 18 eggs from a local woman just a few minutes away, and that worked out really well. Tip number 3 now, and this is going to be a really hard one, especially if you're new to incubating eggs, but it's going to be make sure you keep the lid to your incubator closed as much as possible. And trust me, I've I've done this too, and the first couple times I did, I later realized when I had a very low hatch rate, why I figured out why that happened is because every time you open that lid, you're sucking all the air out. The air pressure is gone, all the humidity and the heat is gone. And if you have chicks that are more further along, they can actually get shrink wrapped inside the membrane inside the egg, and then that whole development stops and they're not going to be able to get out. So you need to keep that lid on as much as possible in order to make sure that those chicks can fully develop and you let the whole process happen as naturally as possible. Now, a lot of people will tell you that you should candle the eggs on day 7 and day 14 to make sure that the eggs are progressing during this whole process and that you don't have eggs in there that just haven't developed at all. But what I like to do, and I have stopped doing that, and what I will do is I'll wait to candle anything until day 18, because that is what is called lockdown day, which is when you need to open the lid anyway. If you have automatic egg turners like I do in that ChickCozy Incubator, you need to take those egg turners out and rest all the eggs on the bottom layer of the incubator on that day. So at that time, you need to open the lid to the incubator anyway, but when you do that, you need to be very quick to just get them out, get the egg turners out and put them on the bottom of the incubator. But that is the time when, if I do candle my eggs at all, that's the time that I do it. And I'll do it very quickly. I'll go into the bathroom, I'll turn the lights off, close the curtains to make the room as dark as possible, and I'll hold the egg above the candler light and make sure that the eggs have developed at all. And if you put the light above it and you just see it's just all dark, there's no light flowing through it, that means that you have some kind of developed chick in there, and you're going to want to put it right back in the incubator and do that as quick as possible. Depending on how many eggs you have, do it as quick as possible. I try to do it in 5 minutes or less, and then get that lid back on and get them back in that humid, warm environment. If you shine the light through the egg when you're candling and it's all bright and there's nothing in there, then you don't have an egg that's developed at all. But you know what? I found in the past that I've made mistakes candling eggs, especially my very first time doing it. I misunderstood some things that I read online, and some of the ones that I candled and they came out dark like that, I couldn't get the light through. I thought that they hadn't developed, and those were ones I should have kept in the incubator, but because I didn't know what I was doing, I removed those and later found out when I threw those eggs in the compost that there was an unhatched chick on the inside of the egg, and that was really saddening to see that dumb mistake that I made. So what I recommend to someone that's new to incubating eggs is to just keep those eggs in there. It's fun. It would be nice to, for your kids to candle them and see the development of the egg. Like, that's really cool. And there's actually some other papers that come with my incubator, that ChickCozy Incubator, that show what the eggs should look like at different stages, day 7, 14, and 21, how they develop on the inside of the egg. But you don't really need to do that. You could just keep the eggs. You don't have to incubate them at all. Just keep the eggs in there and let it be a surprise when day 21 comes, and you'll see some eggs are going to hatch and some eggs aren't. But I guarantee that if you keep that lid closed of your incubator as much as possible and only open it that one time to, on day 18 to remove all the egg turners, you're going to have a much higher hatch rate than if you open the lid 3 or 4 times to candle them every couple days. Your hatch rate's going to go way down. So I highly recommend, you don't even need to candle. You don't need a candler. Just keep them in there. Just get some fertile eggs and put them in there, and you'll see some of those eggs are going to hatch, and they'll do a lot better if you don't candle them and open the lid as little as possible. On to tip number 4, and that's going to be to keep those chicks after they hatch. Keep them in that incubator for 24 to 48 hours. And this is because they need time to recover. That was a very tough process of them hatching out of that egg. It took a lot of energy. They come out all wet and they need to dry off. And there's also the other thing is that you have other eggs in there that haven't hatched yet. And like I just mentioned about opening the lid, you don't want to do that just yet, because those chicks might get stuck and shrink wrapped and not be able to get out of inside of those shells. You want to be patient. let those chicks that have hatched dry off, and also give those other eggs that have started the process of breaking out a chance to get out and hatch themselves. It's a process. It doesn't happen right away. It can seem kind of slow, like you want them to move a little bit faster, but it's just a lot of work for them to get out of those shells, so you got to give them a chance to do that. Be patient and just watch it, you know, from outside of the window, and just enjoy the process of watching those chicks hatch. But try to leave them in there for a day or two to let all of the eggs that are going to hatch. Okay, the last tip number 5, is going to be to make sure once these have hatched and you know that they're going to be needing to get out of that incubator, they can't live in that incubator forever, you're going to want to set them up in a what's called a brooder. It could be a box, it could be a tote, it could be anything, but just something that you can put them in with a heat source, either a heat lamp or a heat plate like the one that I'm using. It's also from the same company, ChickCozy, which I have a link for, like I mentioned down below, if you want to check those out. I really like using the heat plate in their brooder because heat lamps can actually cause fires, and there's been lots of news stories about that happening. A heat lamp could fall in the middle of the night if it's not clamped up properly, and it could start a fire. You don't want to have to worry about that or wake up and see your shed or your house be on fire. The heat plate is a lot safer. It's, I believe, more energy efficient as well, and it mimics more of a mother hen just hovering over the baby chicks like they would if they naturally hatched beneath the mama hen. So that's a way to keep them nice and warm and safe. And you also want to make sure in that brooder that you have lots of food and water, fresh food and water for them set up, because they're going to be hungry. You're going to learn quickly, if this is your first time with raising baby chicks, they are always hungry, just like children, and they always need to have that access to food, and make sure that it's a starter feed that's really high protein so they can grow, and you'll notice that they grow very, very quickly. Now, if you want to go next level with your chicken raising and try making your own feed for your chicks without going to Tractor Supply and getting Chick Starter, check out this video above where I detail how I raised my baby chicks last year without buying starter feed at all, and it's a good one. You can also join our email list to be notified when our online course releases later this year, detailing how I'm planning to feed my chickens for the entire year without buying any feed at all from Tractor Supply. And that includes a plan to grow a garden for your chickens that will feed them for the entire year, including other ways to naturally raise your chickens and save money without buying a lot of things from the store. So if you're interested in that, sign up for our email list down below, so when that releases, you'll be the first to know when it comes out. It's going to be really good. So that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe to our channel. I'd really appreciate that. I'd like to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of this year. So subscribing and liking this video would really help us out a ton. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one.